So this just came in the mail from Reddit user timkish, and he was saying that it was having some issues not saving. It's a Sega Genesis cartridge, and let's see what's going on. He said something was rattling around on the inside, and I can already tell that something is rattling. Not the cartridge. It's okay. Yeah, definitely something inside. Probably the battery. We'll open it up and we'll take a look. Alright, so I just tested the game. It took a little bit to get it to play, so I'm going to give it a good cleaning as well once we open it up and take care of the problem that's inside. On the back, this must have been a rental at one point, but it has the warning label, you know, saying that the full retail of this product will be collected if this label is altered. So that did have to get broken. Timkish, I am sorry that we had to do that to this collector's item. Let's go ahead and open this up. Well, let's see what it has to offer us inside. Well, so far, so good. Let's see what happens when we flip it over. Ah, yes. There is the battery. And here is the other side where the battery was. You can see the solder tabs for the battery have actually come undone with that battery. So the next thing to do is to desolder both of those, and I'll install a new battery holder to keep the battery in. And this battery holder will allow it to have the battery replaced again sometime in the future. Should, you know, somebody be playing this game 20 years or so from now. So the next step in this repair is to desolder both of these tabs, and we'll go from these 2 points that will get desoldered, and this will be the new battery holder that gets put in its place. And then a couple important things to note is the positive side, which is this lead right here, and this is going to be the negative ground right here. So we'll make sure that when we're putting the new battery in that it lines up that same way. The positive side on these watch batteries is the top, and the bottom is going to be the negative or the ground. Alright, so I brought this out to the workbench to work on it, and this tab will come out, and this one, which is actually really loose. So I'll desolder both of those. Actually, in that one, that was actually probably part of the problem. That just came right out, and that must have been a bad solder joint which caused that battery to come loose. So that would explain it. And I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but if you look over here where that lead was, there's actually next to nothing in there for solder. And even this one here has very little solder on it, so I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, that's just what caused the problem. Just not enough solder on the battery joints there. So I'll go ahead and remove the other lead as well. And to do this, I'm just actually going to grab the other lead by the back side here, and I'll heat this up. And it comes right out. So now that that's out, I will use some desoldering braid and just clean it up a little bit. Actually, you know what? I've got my desoldering iron here. Let's I'm just going to use my desoldering iron, and we'll come in and clean it up a little bit. Yeah, there was not much solder on here at all. So, and then I'll clean up the other side as well. And then hopefully we got timkish, a new working Shining Force here. It actually saves its progress. That's a big game. I think that said 12 megs of power. So I can look through and I can see through both leads there, through both soldering points. And just to point out that that side is the positive. Not sure if you guys can see that, but there's the positive mark. And that's, yep, and that's how that's done. All right. So the next thing to do is to prepare this holder to go in, and the positive side, if you guys recall, was the longer lead that came up and over, and that went to the positive side of the battery. So on this battery holder, this left side here is going to be the positive, and the bottom will be the negative. Okay, and if I flip it over, you'll notice that I do have to bend the legs of this slightly, and that will, I'll pull these legs out, and then we'll be able to drop it right in here and add some solder. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I just come in with my needle nose pliers and ever so slightly bend that tab down, and I did most of it off camera just so it was easier to see, but that tab is now bent down, and I will come over here and do the same thing for this tab. I'll show you guys when that's done. So I just want to caution people who decide to use these battery holders. There is this tab here that we're going to bend down. I'm just going to try to stick my fingernail underneath it and pull it out. And you want to make sure that this metal piece here doesn't come out. There's not a lot holding it in, so make sure that you've got some force applied there that will keep it in when you pull this leg out. And then once it's out a little bit, should be able to take some needle nose pliers and bend them out. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is, now that both tabs are bent, I'm going to test fit it into place and see what needs to get adjusted and make sure everything fits in the slots okay. So that one goes in, and let's see, will the other one slide in? Just ever so slightly. Yes, that goes in quite nicely. So there's that battery holder. That's in. I'll flip it over, and you can see that that one needs to, yep, you can see that it doesn't go all the way through. Let me see if I can back that up a little bit. You can see it doesn't quite go all the way through, so I'm going to need to make sure that there's a good amount of solder there. And that leg is through, and I can feel that. We can see that one too. So I'll just come back and double check everything. But you can see that that battery holder is nice and short. We should have no clearance issues with the cartridge on this model here. The only time I've encountered clearance issues so far was on a Nintendo cartridge. The Super Nintendo cartridges seem to have one of the legs for the plastic shell around it in the way, and so a little bit needs to be shaved off the leg of the cartridge to make it work. So now to go ahead and solder that in place. Alright, so we'll go ahead and we'll solder this in. Get our solder. And our soldering iron here. We'll start over here with the good leg here that's sticking all the way through. So in case you guys don't know, I heat up the part and the pad there, and then we'll put some solder in. We want to make sure that we get a fair amount in there. So so that it doesn't move and we don't have a future problem. Okay. I'll come back and touch that up as needed. Come over here and do the same thing on the positive side. It would have been nice if that leg went all the way through, but let's see what we can do to make that work. You know what? I got an idea. If this doesn't work, we'll put a piece of stranded wire in there to help hold it. Yeah, let's do that. So that's in there, and what I'm going to do is I'll come back and check for any solder splashes. That piece came out. There we go, and that piece is there too. Alright, I'll go and take a look. See how it's looking. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Nope. Let's flip it over. Check and see how sturdy it is. This is not going anywhere. Got enough solder on to keep everything in place. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do for you, timkish, is I'm going to give your game a quick clean. I just used the kit that the Nintendo repair shop used to sell, and I believe that they've changed their name since then, but give it a quick clean. You know, I can see that it's kind of dirty down there, and that'll help this game work better for you. It took me a few tries to get it to work on my Sega Genesis. Let's go ahead and clean that off. Look at that. That's gross. So even cleaning this with a Q-tip and Windex just manages to not get most of that off. I know there are some other tricks out there. People use pencil erasers as well, and they have had good luck with that as well. So now we'll rinse all that stuff off. All right, there's your freshly cleaned game, both sides. Go ahead and put your battery in. We'll be good to go. And there is your new battery in place. Okay. Everything's still nice and secure. Go ahead and put your game back together and test it out, and then pop it back in the mail for you, timkish. Alright, so I put a piece of electrical tape over it just to mark that I put a new battery in November 9th. And we'll go ahead and we'll put this game back into the cartridge. It fits in there nicely. We'll go ahead and screw it back together and pop it in the mail. Alright, there you go. Hopefully as good as new. I'll give it a test before I send it out to you. But other than that, there you go. You're welcome, sir. Enjoy the game, and I know you said you were giving this as a gift, and I hope that person enjoys it. Have a good night.